Hello, bonjour, welcome to my review and look at Fuga, Melodies of Steel. Again, this was a game that totally took me by surprise, and a very welcome surprise at that. Fuga is a turn-based strategy game based around World War II furry France. And it's just the most bizarre, wonderful game I've ever had the pleasure of coming across. And so the whole premise of the game is that it's, fake World War II. And there, the Burman army is invading the nation of not France. And you play as a bunch of children who find this mythical tank, and essentially they basically climb aboard, and like Evangelion, suddenly the children are able to use their powers to control the tank and defeat the advancing Burman army. And so you play as Walt, this very young boy, and these, all furries essentially, from the small village. And so you play as the main character, Malt, who is a boy from, this village. And so he is basically responsible for all of his other friends, his younger sister, May, Hannah, Kyle, and a bunch of other people. And throughout your journey, of course, other characters will join you in your tank quest to join the tank crew. But all these are very young individuals. Also, they're, also furries. And so they all climb aboard this tank and begin to fight against the Burman Empire. Throughout the game, the way that the combat actually worked is, again, it's all very turn-based. However, it has a pretty interesting system where you can always see who's attacking when. And what gives it a really dynamic twist is that each enemy will have a particular weakness to a different kind of weapon. So on your tank, you have light arm fire, medium arm fire, and heavy arm fire, which respectively is machine gun, grenade launcher, and cannon. And how you decide to customize your tank will depend on what kind of firearms and what kind of combinations there are. Of course, on each gun, there is a duo of characters. So throughout the campaign, you will have to swap out characters, and if at some point a character sustains critical damage, they'll be knocked out for at least one more battle after that, similar to Fire Emblem. And so the nice thing is that if you strike the enemy according to its weaknesses, it will also delay their attack, which gives you a huge advantage. Aside from that, there are also other strategies revolving around armor. Certain machine gunners can use piercing attacks to reduce the defense of a certain enemy. Without that, you are really going to do no damage. And so they play a very critical role. Each character also has a special skill set or a special move. And usually light gunfire is effective against flying units, medium gunfire against light tanks, and heavy machine gun and heavy cannon fire against larger tanks. This game can be somewhat difficult. It depends actually on how you play. For example, after every battle, there's a succession of battles in which after every battle you can choose the next road to take, and usually it's divided into 3 different groups. One that is very easy and doesn't have any rewards, a medium one, and one that is very heavy, has a lot of hard bosses and mid bosses, but has a lot of very big rewards. And so depending on how well you're playing the game and how effective you're at the current state, you can choose exactly how you want to approach each battle and the pathway you take. Also, on the pathways, there will be certain things like ammo and health, and that is the only way you can really recover those things while you are in the midst of battle. What's really great is each character is also able to level up, and at a certain point, each character is able to also perform a link attack with their respective partner if they have a high enough relationship link with that person as well. So one part of this game is the turn-based strategy, and the other part is definitely the sort of management sim where you walk around the tank and talk to all of your other comrades. Each character has a very distinct personality and is all very fun to talk to. And then you have relationship bonding moments where you can switch to any of the characters and talk to anyone else on the ship. However, that will again determine your relationship based on how you answer their relationship questions. So when there's an opportunity to deepen the relationship, you have to choose the right dialogue options. Aside from that, there are other activities aboard the tank as well, such as a garden, fishing for scrap, using the telescope to get information about the land and area that you're in, researching and developing new weapons and upgrades to your armor and artillery, overall outfitting the tank so that the entire unit is prepared for the next battle. Also, cooking in between major sections of battle is also very important, which will determine a certain boost in attack power and whatnot, which does take materials. The scrap fishing is just kind of a throwaway thing, a little fishing mini game to see if you can get special items used to upgrade your tank. The illustrations in this game are very soft and warm and nice, and they have a very wholesome vibe to it. And this whole game just feels very nice in general. Also, after every level, you will also have the option to enter the nearby village, in which you can get information about the ongoing war, as well as buy certain equipment, either things that will upgrade your tank or ammo, and other types of repair kits that you might be able to use during battle. Another thing that really makes this game stand out to me is the fantastic soundtrack. It is really, really stunning how beautiful the songs are in Fuga, and it feels almost like a classical anime kind of thing. Again, I also love the aesthetic, how everyone is kind of anthro or furry. I mean, it's Japanese furry, so they don't really go very hard on the snouts a lot of the time, and they kind of reduce some of those animal features. So it's kimono, which is, you know, like a nuanced way of looking at it, but really, you know, they're Japanese furries, I'm not gonna lie. So really, this game is about developing your relationships with your other characters, you know, collecting different illustrations of your adventures together, and creating these really deep connections and funny, you know, moments together. There's also an ongoing joke where every time you go to a village, you buy a comic book of the latest Freedom Fighters comic about this essentially superhero who's fighting the Burmans and is kind of their version of Superman. What's also very interesting about this game is that it was developed by CyberConnect Montreal, and so the French influence that is within it is also very prevalent as well. What was shocking to me is that upon you know, buying the game, you have two different language options, neither of them English, but a Japanese and French of all things. So yes, I actually did play this entire game with the French voice acting, which was a very different experience overall, and again, very interesting. Also throughout the game, you have a narrator and also another voice, which is the AI of the tank itself. It's the spirit of the tank, which again, it's kind of hard to discern for the children to think if it's good or evil, since it wants them to go to war, but it also is a useful item to help protect their homeland. Also, another major mechanic in this game that actually is introduced in the tutorial level, which I almost forgot about, was the soul cannon. So one thing that you're able to do is, if the battle is going very badly and you're about to lose, you can actually sacrifice one of your crew members in order to fire the soul cannon, which will completely decimate the enemy. Of course, this means sacrificing one of your adventurers, and of course, really, if you've grown attached to them, that's absolutely nothing that you want to do. And of course, in order to get the true ending, you need to make it through the entire game to the end with all of the passengers alive and intact, and take on the final boss. For me, though, I was really aggravated because this is what I tried to do and I still failed, because there's one Burman boy who becomes your ally for a while and then basically goes off on his own and comes back to face you as a rival. And so he basically attacks you. And so in this battle, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I just won't attack him and eventually we'll surrender, right? But he kept attacking us to the point where it looks like we were going to die. So I thought I had no choice but to take him out. And I thought that's what I had to do. And because I had saved over top of that, it turns out, no, you're supposed to keep defending against his attacks until he comes to his senses and he joins you. And that means that I'd have to do the entire game all over again just to get the true ending because I messed up that one part. The true ending to this game is also very interesting, as the final kind of boss is, of course, a Burman general, but then it also turns into this other thing where there's this giant autonomous creature living underneath the entire continent that awakens, and basically as you are driving on top of it, it comes alive with all the people and cities on top of it, and it's just this crazy cutscene at the end of the game. But anyway, on that point, the game is fairly long. It's definitely more than 10 hours, so this isn't a short game. And so it does go on for quite a while. There's also a lot of dialogue, a lot of text, and a lot of cutscenes. And again, they really try to develop these characters in a meaningful and interesting way. Again, I absolutely love the artwork, the character models. They're extremely cute and very well rendered. And they just feel like, you're going on adventure with a real group of very well developed characters. I don't know, if I had to choose a character to sacrifice for the soul canon, honestly, I choose Socks. I just don't like him. I don't know why. He's just kind of too nerdy for me. If it's not him, then maybe Boson or Boron, the really fat one, the fat cat. I think that'd be funny. I don't know. But I really didn't want to sacrifice any of them, and I didn't at all. But if I knew I wasn't getting the real ending, then I might have changed my mind as to how I conducted myself. But yeah, I absolutely love this game. It's kind of bittersweet though, because right after this one, they did actually release Fuga 2, but immediately upon release, they ended up closing down the Montreal studio. So no more Fuga, I guess. And I tried playing Fuga 2, and I don't know if eventually I'll get into it, because when I started it, like, the whole thing just threw the original game out the window, where it's like the tank that they had used became sentient again, and it started going on a rampage and abducted a bunch of kids, and then you have to use the other mythical tank from the Burmans in this game to track it down and defeat it. And I just thought, so stuff is just happening now. Like, all the stuff I worked for in the previous game is just disrupted just because. And so that always rubbed me the wrong way, I guess. And so I kind of thought, oh, this is just a lot of padding. And I really didn't want to get into, playing a brand new game. But maybe when I come back to this one, maybe get the true ending, then I'll get into Fuga 2. But for now, I really highly recommend this game. It was a lot of fun, has a great art style, and is exactly the kind of game I'm looking for, where it's a little bit familiar, but different enough to be like, yeah, the French Fury World War II game. Have you played it? The one with the talking tank. Yeah, I really like this game. I thought it was a great energy, an amazing soundtrack. If you don't play the game, at least listen to the soundtrack. It's really good. And yeah, just enjoy. Anyway, guys, that's all I got to say about this one. Catch you later. Bye.